Um, is this about the questions again? Because I don't really know anything.
A colourful display of cigarettes and alcohol bottles line the shop wall, inviting you closer.
Again, I'm obliged to inform you that both alcohol and cigarettes damage your health. Huh? Speed. Like. Speed. Speed. No, Frit doesn't do that.
Of course not. Frit is an establishment that acts within the law. Is that all, detective?
A small cabinet on the wall is filled with various medicine bottles, nasal sprays, and blister packs. To the left of some croissants and the bullet is still safely sealed away in a plastic bag bearing the RCM stamp. A rifle, Revolutionary period. Your bullet looks to be an old 4.46mm from the surplus left over from the turn of the century. Probably an antique or a retrofitted antique. The 4.46 caliber was widely used with the Belmargrave rifle, a Revacholian manufacturer. The BM dominated the battlefields of the Insulindian theater of the anti-centennial revolution 50 years ago. No, but Zeliger, a major firearm manufacturer, ended up with a surplus after the war, so there are still a lot of these old military rifles floating around, usually broken. The quality was appalling. Antiques enthusiasts, guerrilla fighters in distant countries, a few lucky jamrock bangers. You're looking for a well-preserved antique, most likely.
What are you thinking? Bullet? Okay. And? An antique. That makes sense. There can't be many breech-loading rifles floating around in Martinez, or anywhere in Ravachol, really. Sure, there's some arms trafficking, but the laws prohibiting the use of breech loaders we inherited from the monarchy have been effective, from what I've seen. Some new RCM recruits get impatient with their muzzle loaders once they've trained with military-grade weapons, but they realize it's worth it in the end.
Prohibiting peacetime law enforcement to front-loaded rifles is a policy enforced by the Moralist International in all the nations of the Real Belt.
Imagine if everyone, cops, citizens, had access to firearms that could shoot multiple rounds without pausing to reload. After the first shot, the second, third, and so on come much easier. But back to the investigation. Doesn't seem that likely, but we'll check out all possible leads. Next step, finding the gun itself. Okay, and? What's your best guess? An antique. That makes sense. There can't be many breech-loading rifles floating around in Martinez, or anywhere in Ravachol, really. I have to hand it to the monarchs. It's quite admirable that they took the advice of criminologists last century and banned the use of breech loaders in peacetime. Some new RCM recruits get impatient with their muzzle loaders once they've trained with military-grade weapons, but they realize it's worth it in the end.
Prohibiting peacetime law enforcement to front-loaded rifles is a policy enforced by the Moralist International in all the nations of the Real Belt.
Imagine if everyone, cops, citizens, had access to firearms that could shoot multiple rounds without pausing to reload. After the first shot, the second, third, and so on come much easier. But back to the investigation. Let's find out. Next step, finding the gun itself. Okay, and? You mean some turn-of-the-century surplus firearm? An antique. That I have to hand it. Some new...
Prohibiting peacetime...
Imagine it. But back to the investigation. Let's find out. Next step.
It's the ledger you found in the trash. A cabbage of papers hanging from the board. With the arson, petty theft. You don't exactly. It takes about half an hour to piece one together, using the system you've devised. Which one do you want? It would be very interesting to read about these, wouldn't it? I mean, there seems to be a square-shaped entry wound in the victim's forehead. She's been sitting there for weeks, on her rocking chair, with a square hole in her skull, staring at the wall, her mouth agape. That's all you got. From the half hour you've spent piecing it together, all you know is the entry wound was square-shaped. You never found the bullet. And then another body showed up, also with a square hole in his forehead. Who knows? Those pages are missing. What next? One day you may still catch the man with the square gun. Some assholes brought their couch outside and hung out on it. In the middle of the street, on the roof, on the hillside by the motorway. You know, at an unexpected location. They were young, and they thought they looked cool on it. Insufferable dicks. Young people are the worst. So anyway, you got a complaint about the damn sofa, or couch, or whatever it is. They were leaving it out in all these unexpected and whimsical locations. They took it to where they also took photos of themselves on it, and smoked cigarettes, and drank coffee because they felt it's intellectual. Cigarette butts, coffee cups, stupid couch. You had to clean it all up, and you did. So congratulations to you. Case solved. No, you didn't have time for that. These notes show that you have what is called a real goddamn job. You don't have time to be chasing down the couch assholes. You have a real job to do. What next? Not much has changed in the meanwhile. A bunch of sodden papers.
Can I help you? Got the 20 real?
The breath catches in his chest. The light in his eyes snuffs out all at once. After a moment, he speaks.
Do you have money tonight? Too bad.
Here comes a layup, sire. Fall not for it.
But you know what? You're in luck, because you don't have to ever pay me again. Really? Perfectly serious. You don't have to pay me anything. You don't have to give me any money at all. If you want a room, yes, you'll need to pay me, but you don't have to just give me money. Giving me money for a room is your choice. No, you can choose to give me 20 real for a room, or you can choose not to. I don't care what you decide. You want a free place to sleep? Fine. You've already unlocked your new room. The trash container outside is ready and waiting.
The lieutenant is painfully silent.
I don't care what you do. Sleep in the trash or pay for a room. I don't care anymore.
He looks you in the eye.
I don't make the rules. Pay 20 real or sleep in the trash container. It's not up to me. Now, is there anything you wanted? Got the 20 real? You must be kidding, right? Yeah, good one, officer. But this establishment only takes cash. Now, do you have that cash?
Fried, near the gates. They'll exchange it.
Then why are you wasting...
Yes?
Can I help you? Got the 20 real? Good. You got the room for the night, but remember, you'll need another 20 real tomorrow.
You know, there might be other places to sleep on this coast. You'll find one eventually. This is not the cleanest bath. That soap scum smell. It smells like life, at least compared to you. The bathtub slowly fills with water. The water beckons. The water is only lukewarm, but still comforting, like amniotic fluid. A few beer cans are bobbing up and down along your flanks, like sad duckies. Now you are alone with your thoughts in the tub. But it's easier than being alone with your thoughts outside the tub. Your fingers grow pale and are covered with tiny whirls as the water cools. You see the corpse. You can still smell the cadaver on you. It's going to take more than one bath to get rid of that stench. Then, houses along a narrow street. A video rental. Darkness on the planet's curvature. The waterline recedes as you stand. You are cold now. A mirror hangs on the bathroom wall. In it, your face, adorned with the expression. The man is decomposing visibly now. Every hour, he looks less like a creature and more like a pile of intestines. The body is reluctant to let go of the boots, as though it were its last bit of dignity.
Whoa! Kuno's little sneak peek's back for the booty.
Yeah, fuck it to pieces for us, liar cop.
It's not completely useless. You're able to reveal a little more of the putrid polymer sock beneath the boot. It's not completely useless. You're able to reveal a little more of the putrid polymer sock beneath the boot. It feels like the leg is going to come off along with the boot, but you're able to get the boot to move a centimeter or two. Just relax. This is easy. This is happening. It's heavier than you'd think. You're forced to drop it back down immediately. The corpse lands on the ground with a nauseating thud, looking even sadder than before. Damn, you're out of shape. In your defense, the corpse was quite slippery. Something cracks in the left leg. It really is about to come off. The leg, I mean, not the boot. You may want to slow down. Don't tear into it like that. This is the right method. It takes some time, but eventually the boots come off. with nasty slices of polymer sock stuck to even bigger pieces of skin and rotting flesh.
Look, he's skinning the fucker up good.
Hell, keep at it, pig.
The legs look like they've been clawed at by wild animals. As for the boots, you can't possibly do anything with them until you've cleaned and disinfected them thoroughly. Yes, these absolutely need to be washed before. The stink is incredible. Didn't the Whirling have a kitchen?
Fuck, does Kuno care? Kuno d-
This industrial gas-powered stove has been used to prepare food for many hungry hostel guests. There are several pots and pans on. The lieutenant said you'd need to boil the boots in acid to get the corpse smell out. But this huge pot, industrial dish soap, white vinegar, and patience might do the trick. A commercial pot draws your attention. It's very large, gigantic even. It could be used to make enough stew to feed an entire city, and also to boil a putrid pair of death boots. There is a variety of soaps and bleaches in the cabinet to the left of the stove. There is also a bottle of white vinegar in the cabinet next to the fridge. It's bad with those boots. Don't be stingy now. The bottom of the pot fills with shiny white goo. All right now, chef, light up the stove and boil them. The soap bubbles over the rim of the pot. The water slowly comes to a boil. Strips of polymer fabric and human tissue separate from the lining of the boots. They float to the bubbling surface. A two-course dinner of rotten flesh and hardened ceramic. The boots look cleaner and cleaner. Those bits of human flesh are beginning to look cooked. You can smell it too, just like beef stew. That's it, chef. The boots are as clean as they're going to get. Steam dense with the smell of strange meat disappears into the vent above the stove. The boots look clean, but still smell funky. The strong vinegar odor forces you to take a few steps back from the stove. The whole kitchen now smells like white vinegar, but maybe your boots won't smell like a corpse. A pair of real beauties. The boots are shiny, hot, and reek of vinegar. Just perfect. You see a heavy steel door with a prominent dimple lock. The cobalt blue old coat. It leads to the door does not. The fan stands still. The lights are on. The bed is still cold from the broken window, and not too inviting, but it's yours. You've earned it. The bed is still cold from the wind blowing in from the broken window. The mattress creaks as you close your eyes and try your hardest to fall asleep.
Here we are again, my broken bird. The waves are coming, carrying you away. But you can't go. No, you have to stay. Always half aware of yourself. You're not cooperating, brother man. It's your disgusting body. Even through your sleep you feel a vague discomfort suffusing it. Your belly and your sides are unpleasantly tender. You wish you could curl up into a fetal ball of safety. But you cannot, because of the pain.
That pain in your right side is your enlarged liver, by the way. As for your kidneys, you've really been compounding the damage lately. But this suffering, it must have some kind of meaning. A story that will come out of it. Perhaps even a story that you will write yourself.
There's no dignity here. Only reflections of your body mass. Flashes of the day. You keep coming back to yourself in the mirror. But why? To admire all your accomplishments? You're just stuck here, in the half-world. Could try looking at other people. Really looking. But why would you want to start doing that?
Oh, baby boy, you're already in the other place. There's no nourishment for you tonight. Maybe tomorrow.
Maybe if you know, like, took a lot of drugs before you go to sleep, that'd do the trick. Maybe if you cracked the damn thing, then you'd feel satisfied and tired, holding the picture puzzle in your hands, complete. Maybe if you weren't so hard on yourself.
What do you think you're doing right now? Coming to some greater awareness? Look at all these lights, blinking in and out of existence. Thoughts! You're just pretending that you're asleep, even to yourself, while the world goes on without you.
Let it. Let it.
But it never seems to let you go, does it? Time to rise and wipe that shining sweat off as best you can. Gather your bearings. Rock and roll.
window stands broken in its frame. The morning light hurts your... The door is closed.
Yes?
Oh, hello, dear. There you are again.
You know,
Of course, officers. Is there a particular cryptid you tour? The gnome of Jeroma. Oh, yes. None of its victims survived. Grieving relatives never even found their bodies because the gnome's venom dissolved organic tissue. It was reportedly a small creature with webbed fingers and a protruding forehead and an ungainly little thing. Quite scary to look at. A couple of campers found it when it was already dying. They heard an odd wailing in the woods and followed the sound. They were scared and wrapped it in tarpaulin to suffocate it. It still took the gnome of Jeroma an entire day to die.
if the body of the creature was found, why aren't there detailed illustrations of it in science textbooks, confirming the existence of this very little species?
Alas, the first scientist who got his hands on the creature's corpse put it in a jar of formaldehyde, thinking that would detoxify the gnome's venom. Instead, all the venom leaked out of the creature's teeth and into the surrounding liquid, dissolving the creature itself. A poetic end, perhaps, but a real loss for science.
Alas, always alas, and then it was gone.
I understand your skepticism, but that's what happens with things that are rare and stand out. Their disappearance is most memorable, and they are least likely to be found again. What an interesting question. And the answer is yes, there are.
Of course. All fairy tales have someone or something invisible in them. Okay, I won't spoil your fun. What is the invisible cryptid?
It's the Col de Mama d'Aqua. Its name means thin whisper of sound, and that's precisely what it is. Self-replicating sound waves, invisible and intangible. The Col de Mama is very afraid of us, which makes it incredibly difficult to track.
Col de Mama d'Aqua can also be translated as a whisper light and low.
Yes, that's another translation. They're both quite lovely, aren't they? Although the low part is a little ironic. The Col de Mama d'Aqua makes, or rather is, such a high-pitched sound that other animals, including humans, can't hear it. It could be everywhere all of the time, and we wouldn't know.
Fine, I'll bite. How can an animal be a sound?
Many scientists have asked the same question. Some have claimed that it isn't itself a sound, but a tiny corpuscle that emits sound waves. But there's no evidence to support this theory. It could be. As I said, it could be everywhere. And we wouldn't know any better. It could be ringing all the days of our lives and nights. Plenty. It's the evidence that led to its discovery. In the 20s, a group of areopagite ornithologists, that is, scientists who study birds, were trying out a new recording technology for capturing sounds outside the range of human hearing. When playing back recordings they had made in the foothills of the Ea mountain range, they noticed certain anomalies, patterns that seemed random at first, but on closer examination were consistent with the waveforms of songbirds. The scientists soon discovered they could track and even predict what appeared to be feeding, mating, and migration patterns based on sound waves in a strictly delimited range of ultrasonic frequencies, even higher than those of the highest pitched bat calls. They realized that they had discovered a new species and called it the Koldumamadakwa, after the Paracanassian name for the voice of God, which is said to be very silent. They grew quite obsessed with these little birds. Even though they couldn't see them, they could distinguish among individual birds and even began to name some of them. Sequester, Time, Joscan, those are but some of the Mamadakwa they followed individually. That is a sad story. A group of university students assisting with the field work in their enthusiasm for the project, and no doubt because they were preoccupied with impressing their professors, nearly drove it to extinction. They tried to communicate with it and had no other means but sound. So they started sending out sound waves at frequencies they thought might match the Mamadakwas. And what happens when a sound wave meets another sound wave of the same frequency, dear?
Psst. They cancel each other out. Psst.
Exactly. And these tests were performed so recklessly that when they happened upon the right frequency, well, they wiped out most of the population. After that, the corpuscle appears to have migrated elsewhere. There have been recordings of anomalies similar to those spotted in Ea, but they've been few and far between. It's impossible to confirm the presence of any stable Koltumamadakwa population anywhere.
Of course. A common thread in these. Disappearance and unfalsifiability. I like the story, though, ma'am.
I'm glad you did, dear. What about what? I'm glad you like them, but I'm not really one to tell you about all of them. You should ask my husband if you get the chance. He's the real expert.
Inside, you see a set of steering levers, a radio microphone, a pull-out toolbox, and the soft glow of the fuel preheater gauge.
This is Precinct 57. How may I assist you? Yes. The armor was produced by Fairweather in their facilities in Bétancourt, sur la Clé in 42. It was part of a special order for Corps de Pharmacie, a security firm contracted to protect the interests of Oranese pharmaceutical companies in the Semenine conflict. So, it seems the armor went to Semenine. That's where the paper trail ends, though. Even the firm has proven difficult to track. Corps de Pharmacie has been renamed several times over in the years since the armor was issued. The most recently registered firm that the ICP has been able to connect to the CDP is a military contractor called Trinel, and the one before it was Downwell. I think they might be the same contractor.
A suit of armor like this would have been manufactured with a particular person's physique in mind. You should ask for whom this suit was fitted.
Hard to say. Their client list is rather diverse and incomplete. The only constant seems to be that the mercenaries are always deployed in third and fourth world countries. Yes, but the ICP tends to be reluctant to share private sector records. I could try to talk them into it, though. Sure. Call back tomorrow. Hopefully I will have more information for you then. Not yet, but I was able to convince the database people to share private sector information. They promised to get back to me by tomorrow morning. Do you have any other questions? Just a moment, officer.
10-4, come in, officer. Over. Roger that. 10-10, over and out.
This is Precinct 57. How may I... It will...
Her voice is...
Gottlieb, what you get yourself into this time? I didn't, but now I do. How's the drinking going? Great. Have a medal. I have an autopsy to attend to. An autopsy of one Chester McLean who died of fish poisoning.
Fucking, I'm not dead. It just hurts, okay?
Oh, it's you. I know a woman skilled at that sort of... Mm-hmm.
Anything else I can help you with, officer? It was...
Her voice.
Gottlieb, what is it now? Mm-hmm.
Anything else I can help? Just a second. Sylvie Malaika on the line for you, officer.
Yes. Hello? Oh, great. What else do you...
You hear the...
Anything else I can help you with, officer? 50 seconds.
In the cabin, you see a set of... A rusting control panel with loose wires dangling out from the hole where an indicator light used to be, and a mechanical lever sitting in the middle. You grab the handle and pull the lever up. As soon as the metal connects against the contact pins, the water lock starts moving.
Okay, if we ever need to get to the coast, then this is the way. But please, contain your wanderlust for now. I don't want us to get sidetracked, not with everything that's going on.
Top of the morning to you. How may I be of service? Perhaps I just like being awake for the transition between night and morning, bearing witness to the first hints of light on the horizon. Traffic? I'm sorry, officer, but I don't drive. I just don't like it very much. Now that I think about it, I do remember hearing a thunderous noise the other night. Some kind of powerful electric vortex hitting the shop and then moving on.
That sure narrows down our list of suspects.
Yeah, it was pretty wild. I didn't really know what to make of it, but I know it meant something. I doubt it, but I can try and answer any question.
He doesn't know anything. He doesn't know. The pawnbroker's gaze is already fixed on the dancing colors. Feeling warm and enthralled by the movement of light, while the mind continues to race forward. Lucky bastard, he's probably on Perolidon. It's tough to come by on the street. A drug developed by the military to treat and prevent radiation sickness. It has psychedelic side effects, and it makes your eyes turn yellow.
I try to keep the shop at a comfortable temperature. Perolidon is just something since the People's Pile disaster. I was with the Emergency Relief Brigade. Had to take it for radiation sickness.
He's taken it for mental and emotional, not physical pain these days.
A bad idea. Some poor leftist built a particle decay generator in hopes of bringing affordable electricity to underserved communities. It malfunctioned. Radioactive waste everywhere. Probably some of it in you too.
The People's Pile was a Type U particle decay generator that failed immediately after entering service, releasing radioactive waste into River Esperance. A primitive nuclear reactor, also called a pile. Construction began during the Commune of Revachol. The people continued work on it after the Commune fell. They wanted a cheap source of energy for Revachol West. Needless to say, things didn't work out. An emergency valve defect resulted in steam pressure blowing the turbine, taking the fuel containment vessel up in the explosion. Both the faulty design and lack of finances contributed to the catastrophe.
We were an all-volunteer force, self-organized, tried to help the fire brigades contain the spill.
On the patch, gamma radiation lines crossed with a red drop of blood.
I lived by the river since I was a small boy. The Esperance didn't have the art to let it all go to shit without trying to do something to help out. There wasn't much the volunteer force could do, however. We wasted years in the river mud, years getting sick. There's a reason why everyone's tried to forget any of it ever happened, and why no one has tried to repair or replace the pile. So much disappointment, and early deaths. Cancer mostly. And we knew all that was coming even as we were cleaning up as best we could. No one's. Everyone's.
So much bitterness.
A bunch of poor people built themselves a primitive nuclear reactor, hoping for the best. What do you think is going to happen? The cleanup happened 15 years ago. I was young then. Later, my second aunt died. Left me this shack and all the assorted junk in it. So I came to Martinez. People told me don't go there. It's a shithole. I said, people, we just had a nuclear pile meltdown. I'm gonna get as far away from Forburg as I can. Still in the same city, but I like the theory more than the story. Outward movement, not vortices.
Yeah, you gotta get in on those vortices, my man.
Have you tried it before?
The lieutenant steps away, pretending to admire some of the knickknacks on display. Looks like he doesn't want to get involved. He won't be your nog, but he won't be thrilled about this either.
If you say so. Here you go, man.
Not so sure about this.
Of course.